Member's time has expired. Dr. Megan Woods.
Mr Speaker, clearly the order has gone out. Talk about anything but ponytail gate. Tell them they're not allowed to talk about it. Tell them that it's wrong and concentrate on anything else at all. We heard from Amy Adams, a former Minister for the Environment, who finally discovered recycling today. That she pulled out of the bin that she probably gave 2 years ago and went on in a desperate effort to fill 5 minutes. Better than her colleague Hekia Parata tried to do at 1,000,000 miles an hour. Because, Mr Speaker, this is a government that is out of touch, and it's a government that it's rattled. It's a government that is stumbling from one disaster to the next, and it seems the longer that time goes on, the weirder and creepier it gets. It's like Peter Pan's lost boys and girls have gone down the rabbit hole and found some very strange mushrooms on the way down. And when they get there, they're led by their very own boy who can't grow up, Peter Pan John Key. John Key, let me try this alliteration, the perpetual prepubescent ponytail puller, who is leading from the front. So picture this, Mr Speaker. It's 1972. An 11-year-old John Key sets off to school. He arrives and stares wistfully at the sign overhead. Airangi Primary. A keen observer would see a self-satisfied, some would say smug, look on the young John Key's face. He thinks to himself, one day I'll close this school. He's joined at the gate by his close buddy, Ian Fletcher. Now, he's a lad that seems to have his finger on the pulse. He seems to know what's happening all around the schoolyard. What's better, he keeps John Key informed. John decides he'd like everyone in the class to know what's going on, so he slips his mate Cam a note, taking careful note to change his hat before he gives Cam the piece of paper, and deciding to himself that if asked, he'll say that he was just replying to Cam, that he didn't start it, Cam did. And just as he passes his note to Cam, he sees one of his former besties, Judy, sitting up there on the back steps and crying all over her spilt milk. But then the sun comes out and it's sparkling. It's a frosty Canterbury morning, and a classmate with long, flowing, glistening locks saunters by. Affectionately, those locks were caught in a ponytail. She walks past. He can't contain himself. He reaches out and he touches that ponytail. She asks him to stop. He pulls it again. He doesn't care. He's John Key, and he can do what he likes. After all, he's just horsing about. And his mate Steve had told him it was pretty acceptable to touch someone's hair when they'd asked you not to, so he doesn't think he'll stop. In fact, he goes on to do it 8 times, despite not being asked to stop. This behaviour is cringeworthy enough in an 11-year-old boy. But, Mr Speaker, we are talking about the behaviour of the Prime Minister of New Zealand. This is a standard of behaviour that is not acceptable from the Prime Minister. It is a standard of behaviour that is not acceptable for any adult human being. Doing whatever you like with no regard for how it impacts on other people is not the standard that we hold ourselves to on this side of the House. You could not make this stuff up that we're talking about. It's better than Malcolm Tucker's best serve, what we're seeing from our Prime Minister. But on a serious note, Mr Speaker, this is a government that has absolutely no scruples when coming to deciding how they're going to tackle a housing crisis. We still have people unable to afford housing. We still have unemployment at 5.7%, and then we also have a government that thinks it's better to spend money on election bribes than on core services such as health and education. But it's okay, because the Prime Minister's just horsing around, Mr Speaker. We want the Prime Minister to step up and get off his high horse.